All right, man. It's almost Thanksgiving. You know what's awesome?
What's that?
Buddy movies.
What makes more sense for Thanksgiving than buddy movies?
That's when they start coming out on TV, and like you get to watch old classics and some kind of new classics and stuff. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, what's your go-to? Whenever we started chatting about doing this one, you mentioned Bill and Ted. They just had a new Bill and Ted. I haven't seen it yet. Um,
My go-to? Well, it's I don't know if this one qualifies. I've been trying to think of racking my brain. I mean, there's the obvious ones we will talk about in this show because they are the ultimate buddy movies. But my favorite, and you can tell me if this works or not, but I absolutely love Spies Like Us.
I started when I started writing them down. I was just doing a brainstorm, and a lot of those Saturday Night Live alumni movies. So things like Stripes
Oh yeah.
and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Three Amigos.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just stuff like that where it's like they're totally buddy movies.
Yep.
They're pals. Um, so yeah, those are hard to do. So we might have to roll those up into a ball. But yeah, like I'm right there with you. Weird Science. We talked about that one a few weeks ago,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you don't get the Franken girl without buddies hanging out, spending the night talking about
That's right.
computers and girls.
But yeah, Spies Like Us to me, man, is just to me that's when Chevy Chase was just at the top of his game. Um, Dan Aykroyd is Dan Aykroyd. It really doesn't matter what decade you pick. He's Dan Aykroyd. And
Hmm.
but for some reason, the scene where they're going to take the test to become FBI agents, man, when Chevy Chase goes in there and he's late and the whole spiel he has there about taking the test and he's got cheat notes all over him and gosh man I love that so much so much.
Yeah, the that whole era
Yeah.
was just comedy gold.
Yeah.
And what's funny, because I know we've probably mentioned it before about music, but and I certainly have mentioned it on Facebook before. Where it's like certain times in the past when you just didn't know what you had. I mean, we can cue the Cinderella song right now of just like, there once was a time when the radio played new Nirvana songs too much, or
Right.
new whatever, new Motley Crue or new Van Halen or new. It's like, man, I'm just tired. I'm sick and tired of this stupid Poison song that's just on every 5 minutes. But then, like, you didn't know where the world was gonna go.
All right. Then Nickelback
And same
happened,
thing
right?
in the '90s, people were complaining that Saturday Night Live wasn't funny. Whenever you have like Dana Carvey and Mike Myers and what would become the Wayne's World,
Yeah.
guys, because that previous couple generations with Dan Aykroyd and Belushi and was just so groundbreakingly hilarious
Yeah.
that yeah they weren't they weren't as funny as them, but they certainly had their moments. But yeah, that whole SNL, you know, you just list them off, with
Right.
the exception of John Candy and Rick Moranis because they were SCTV.
SCTV. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what's your go-to, man?
Well, honestly, I'm gonna have to say that my straight up like comfort, buddy movie is gonna probably be Wayne's World.
Yeah.
I mean that movie hit at a time I was in high school. It was still heavy metal. It wasn't
Yeah.
now, grunge was there, but Wayne's World was still true to metal. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they were a couple of mulleted heavy metal guys, from the suburbs, and they were the cool guys, and um, like I identified with those guys very much so because like I played guitar and I was always around a bunch of creative people. We were always writing stuff and you know filming weird stuff on our video cameras and trying to come up with cool ideas for fun things to do. So I really identified, like I wanted a show like Wayne's World. And in
Oh
fact,
yeah.
a friend of mine and I actually went up to the public access station here in Houston to see if we couldn't pitch. And the funny thing was, they didn't care. They're like, "Yeah, bring it on in." But we didn't have. But you needed to bring in your own. You had to have your own film crew and your own
Right.
cameras, and you couldn't just walk in and like have a show produced. We're like, "Oh, well, that's going to be expensive." But yeah, we actually. So
I
yeah,
wonder what I wonder what the ratio is for YouTube personalities and podcasters that wanted to be Wayne's World.
I bet you that's. I bet you those lines run real
Oh
close
yeah,
together.
yeah. Because
Because
that's definitely what I
that's
wanted to do. I mean, mine was more UHF. When I saw UHF, I was like, "Oh man, this would be my dream," you know.
just to have an antenna and just to put out whatever you wanted,
Yeah,
just and the bizarre pitches that people would come in and the way that the funny thing, Weird Al, one of the striking things about that movie has always been the he's weird,
yeah.
like it's in his name, and people will come in and pitch ideas for shows and his eyebrow goes up like, man, you've lost it. Like it's
Fun
so
with
cool.
phlegm. Bowling for burgers. I mean, yeah, it has nothing to do with this show, but yeah, Wayne's World. Yeah, man, I think we saw it 3 times in the theater, and I've got 2 words for you: Tia Carrera.
Oh, dude. Yeah, big time.
Big
And
time.
when I mean, even the covers of her song, like the songs that she was doing, like
Yeah,
like Ballroom Blitz and stuff. It's like
yeah,
she's got some pipes too,
yeah. I noticed.
Yeah.
Oh,
But like there was kind of a bunch of those in that same era. Like Bill and Ted was a little bit before that,
I still
and
love the first Bill and Ted so much. It's so random and so goofy. And you were saying before we started about the newest one that's out, and I really want to watch it. So to prime up to watch it, I went back and watched the second one, Bogus Journey, and I saw it in a theater when it came out. I never walked out of a theater so disappointed as I did with that one. And I thought, you know what? 20 some odd years has gone by. Let's give it another shot. It's still terrible, man. It's a terrible movie. It's so bad.
you know, I barely remember it. I remember liking Bill and Ted so much that whenever the second one came out, I kind of just went with it.
Yeah.
But the I kind of did like the evil robots. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, it had some points to it that you kind of kept you going along, but man, you almost like, man, I really want this to be over. I mean, you know, and it's a lot of it's the really bad CGI stuff too, because that's right when they were starting to use a lot of that, and
Hmm.
it's not, it doesn't help it any at all now. So, but yeah, the first one, never get tired of it.
Yeah, and of course, especially with George Carlin in there.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
Rufus.
and I love because it's like the dad's threatening military school. It's like you had those friends that like let's for whatever reason maybe they were neglected or they were able to do stuff and so like it's like, oh man, my folks would never let me do that, and you got that friend that's just like, oh man, let's go, let's do it anyway. But then like whenever their parents would clamp down on them, it's like almost scary. You're like,
Right.
oh.
Yeah.
You're going to military school. It's like, oh man, I've seen my friend get yelled at like that before. That's not fun. And then of course then Bill's making fun of Ted or Ted's making fun of Bill about his stepmom. It's like, remember how you asked her out and she said no?
Hey, I can't laugh too much about that, man, because my stepmom's only 4 years older than me. So, I mean, when my dad met her, and he's like, well, she's a little embarrassed to say who she is because she's afraid you'll think badly of her. And when he said who it was, I was like, my dad's the coolest man on the planet. He just bagged the hottest girl that ever went to our school,
That's awesome.
I mean, I live the Bill and Ted life.
Shut up, Bill.
Man, I'm telling you, there's you can't compare that movie. The second one is not even in the shadow of the first one.
No,
It's
no,
so
and just
so good.
just their language in between each other. It's like
Yeah,
they just they're buds, you know.
yeah.
It's like, oh hey, you know, it's like I'll remind myself. Like I'll wind my watch. Don't forget to remind yourself to wind your watch. Oh yeah, hey man.
Hey, don't forget to wind your watch, man. Yeah, it's so ridiculous that, and its quirkiness is just what made it work. And I think they tried too hard with the second one instead of
That's
just
often
instead of just letting it
that's
happen. Yep.
yeah, that's often the case where it's like you got an indie movie because we on Scary Dad we talked about De Laurentiis, and if you read that list of movies,
Yeah.
like like I mean they did not have a committee like standing over and being like, hey, you know, we don't think this fits the mold. It was like almost it had to not fit the mold in order to be
Right.
a, you know, and because yeah, I can't imagine Bill and Ted getting made now the way it got made then.
Right.
Like with maybe as an indie film or something, but like as a studio film,
Right.
like
Yeah.
with I mean pretty famous actors too. So it's but yeah, Bill and Ted's awesome.
Yeah.
Always love that one. Just the again how bizarre it is, and like I've always been a real fan of like I'll mess with syllables, but like calling him Beethoven.
Yeah. Right. So great.
It's so great. And Mr. the Kid
Mr. the
instead
Kid.
of like
I mean,
take,
again, that's just amazing, man. I mean, that's what made that thing work. Is just how dumb they are. I mean, they were really, Beavis and Butthead for us before Beavis and Butthead came along. But
and that was going to be next on my list
yeah,
is
yeah,
Beavis and Butthead. I mean, you talk about a cultural phenomenon.
right,
And do you remember Liquid Television on
absolutely.
MTV?
Oh yeah,
And so like, my buddy and I would sit there and just joke and laugh about, but I mean, Frog Baseball was like 30 seconds long.
yeah,
It's like the little indie film or the like the little film festival submissions that they had done, and that was what Liquid Television had kind of been with like Aeon Flux and
yeah. The Max.
the Max, stuff like that. And Beavis and Butthead, it was just like you knew there was something special about Beavis and Butthead, and it was just so stupid, but it was like you, all of us knew kids like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
all of us knew, like maybe not to that extreme, but just kids that would just giggle stupidly at everything. As we're making this show now,
yeah,
um, but man, so I worked at the miniature golf course. It was my second job. So I was in like 10th grade, 11th grade, junior year of high school, and I was working at the grocery store. Grocery store closed down, so I went to work at the miniature golf course, and it was like an '80s movie, really. I mean, it was in the early '90s, but a bunch of teenagers, and we had this manager. His name was Brian. He's a really nice guy. Like not knocking on him, but this dude was about as just he was about as square as they come. Like he didn't get jokes. He was very down, like he was very businesslike, but he was the manager of a miniature golf course whenever he was like, in his 40s.
right.
And so like, you could have a scoop of ice cream at the end of a shift. You could have some popcorn. When he wasn't there, like we were eating the Bluebell by the gallon, like popping the popcorn, making the hot dogs. Oh man, hitting on girls as they were coming through and buying, because kids would come in on dates and be like,
Right.
and then Beavis and Butthead came out, and you could almost like roll back your calendar and see that this was the day before Beavis and Butthead came out, and this is the day after,
Yeah.
because then everybody's accent stopped and people would come up and be like, "Hi, I'd like to get I'd like to get 4 people to play miniature golf," and then like the register would malfunction. Our register would malfunction a lot. It's like you'd punch in like 4 people to play golf at $5 each, and it would come up to like $400. And then so you like you'd have to like get a manager override and like dial it back. And so of course you'd be like, we're like closed or something.
Right.
It's just, and
Yeah.
everybody had the same accent and everybody said the same stuff.
Yeah.
And all these old people didn't get it and the young people were laughing. It was like the day before and then every day afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
my stepbrother is the age group of that generation too. So he was catching Beavis and Butthead when he was, 10, 11 years old. So it got to where every time he spoke, it started off with, and he still talks that way. so he never broke out of that mode, but I blame Beavis and Butthead for his actions.
For a lot of stuff. Well, and then like people were like burning down their houses because Beavis and Butthead were like fire, and so like Mike Judge, who is a really smart guy, but that like right after they were like, oh, you can't say fire anymore, so then they play that one video of the dude that's on fire running in slow motion across the screen, and Beavis is just like, it was like the ultimate like finger to all of the people.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing, and that's the same thing I think about the guys that do South Park too, because they're really that way too. There's a brilliance behind their madness that they do. But that's for another show.
Oh yeah, for sure. Still, I can't believe they're still on this long.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, they've pretty much pissed off everybody that you can. So I don't see how they're still on the air.
It's because they're equal opportunity pisser offers.
There you go.
They only got in trouble. They only got in trouble when they went after Scientology. Everybody else is a fair game.
Right. So since we're talking about Bill and Ted and Beavis and Butthead, to me the next rung in that ladder is Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of I'm hit and miss with those guys. But I absolutely love Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. It's just as stupid as any Bill and Ted.
I don't think I ever saw that all the way through, actually. Silent with Strikes Back. I kind of I loved Kevin Smith when I loved Clerks when it first came out, which is where Jay and Silent Bob came from, and that's where they're just dealing drugs out in front of the grocery store and making fun of Dante and dancing randomly. And...
classic.
And then in Mallrats too, when he's sitting there trying to do the Jedi mind trick with a cigarette and he keeps knocking it out of his hand. Stop that, man.
But yeah, it strikes back to me and of course it's one of those that for some reason my daughter was a teenager at the time and she got her hands on that one and she wore that movie out, which is probably not the best thing for a teenager girl to watch, but she just thought it was so hilarious. I mean, everything about it. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, but the more we got to watching it, I mean, of course you got Will Ferrell in there and all these people too. So it's got tons of stuff in it, man. George Carlin. I mean, and that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh, you think Beavis and Butthead was dumb? Look at these guys.
Yeah. Well, and that's too, they're kind of came to a point where things were starting to race for the bottom.
Yeah.
After Beavis and Butthead, where it's just but those poor 90s kids, they didn't know what was coming, man.
True. So, I know we're talking buddy films, but what about brother films? Do they count as well? Because to me, Blues Brothers is a buddy film.
Oh, totally. Blues Brothers is on the list. And
possibly the best. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Blues Brothers for sure. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, you can't really get much more buddy than that.
Fix the lighter. Some guy just ordered some
um,
dry toast. Another guy wanted 4 fried chickens and a Coke.
the you know those writing rooms just had to have been so much fun.
Oh,
Where they're
man.
just like here's an idea. It's like, do you think it'll fly? Like, I don't know, shoot it. Let's see if it flies.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the 80s, man, was the cocaine was running free, so you just, yeah, let's try it.
Let's roll. Oh man, because especially that chase scene at the end
Oh, yeah.
of Blues Brothers, like one of the best car chase scenes in the world, and it's
Yeah.
just like ridiculous, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. John Landis, man, he was cranking it out. Yeah, man. Great movie. And a follow-up brother movie on that, which I kind of consider the same, would be Strange Brew.
Yeah, which is so ridiculous.
Yeah, I love that movie, man. The McKenzie brothers.
Oh man,
Back off, you
I need,
hoser.
yeah, I need to catch back up with that one. I was trying to watch it the other day, and I couldn't get it to stream right. But so instead, I was like just looking at some old SCTVs
Oh, yeah.
where he's like talking about
Great.
how he's gonna you got to raise the mouse. Like they're trying to get a case of beer.
Yeah.
It's like they found a dead mouse, and he's like takes them like the whole skit to figure out what 12 times 12 is. So if you buy a 12 pack of beer and you raise a little mouse in each one,
in each
and then
one.
claim a mouse, you can get a case for each one. That's 12 times 12. It's like 244. It's he's like, I'm gonna figure it out. He's like, don't hurt
Right.
yourself.
And that's a great point, because if you really do think Bill and Ted are dumb, or Beavis and Butthead, or Jay and Silent Bob, you got to remember there's a part in this movie where they are giving each other shock therapy for fun.
Yeah.
All right, my turn.
Oh man,
Uh,
they used to drive me nuts too, because that the VHS cover where
Yeah.
their mouths are cocked in all the opposite directions, and I was like, I used to have to think. I'm like, okay, so either one of them could just go in either direction, or they had to film them to where they were like cocked the opposite way. Like, hey, you need to come over here and stand the other side.
yeah. So funny. So funny. That's the whole SCTV group, like you said, it's kind of lost now. I mean, everybody knows them individually, but you're like, man, if you love Eugene Levy, if you love John Candy and McKenzie Brothers, they were all on a show together,
Yeah.
and you go back and you
Well-
watch it like, wow, this is pretty incredible.
Well, too, like Toronto's not that far from New York either, so it was
Right.
like they were all kind of running those same sort of circles and
Yep.
stuff, and they're all in each other's movies. I
Yep.
mean, so, and one thing about it, dude, Rick Moranis is just
Yeah.
he's just untouchable. That dude is awesome in everything he was ever in.
Well,
Even the stuff he was in that sucked he was good in it.
I don't know if untouchable is the word, being he just got cold cocked walking down the street a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true. But that was probably a bad choice of words.
But at the same time, though, you're kind of like, deep inside, I think majority of us like, man, I wish I'd get my hands on the guy that cold cocked him.
Oh, certainly. Yeah,
Yeah. That's Rick Moranis,
Poor-
man.
Poor dude.
That's Dark Helmet, man.
Another buddy movie. Lone Star and Dark Helmet.
Oh yeah,
Lone Star and Barf.
barf.
Dark Helmet and his dolls.
Pizza the Hut.
Oh man. So let's see. What have I got next? Let's go serious,
Okay,
because buddy movies, they don't have to necessarily be comedies.
that's true.
But Lethal Weapon, man.
Oh yeah,
Like that was a great pairing right there.
absolutely.
I mean, the first one pretty dark,
Yeah.
but the second one lightened it up and was it's still pretty dark, but it was a lot more fun.
Yeah,
The first one's pretty rough, but the first one's also got pre crazy Gary Busey in it.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, man, the Lethal Weapon movies are just iconic, and they're all pretty decent. Uh, I do like the first one, I guess, the best because it's that thing where you saw it first, and it's the one that made the impression. And it is a dark movie, dude. It's definitely got some
yeah,
messed up stuff in it. But yeah, I think that's a really solid series of movies.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always enjoyed it. Like I said, we I had forgotten probably because each one kept getting less and less dark as they went on. Um, but like even part two, where where they they toss him off the thing and he sees his girlfriend drowned at the bottom of the.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, he has to pop the shoulder out of socket in order to get out of the straitjacket so that
Yeah.
he can go and like yank that dude's house off the mountain.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. Good stuff.
They're all standing in there talking about how they're going to be, doing more crime, and all of a sudden the whole house just kind of shakes. They're like, "What is going on?" Dude's down there with a 4x4 on a chain, yanking it off its piers. Hell yeah! Oh man! All right, I think we need to take a quick break, listen to a couple trailers, and we will come back and talk about some more buddy movies.
Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill
I'm Bill S. Preston!
Who was Joan of Arc?
and Ted,
Noah's wife? We're in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow.
a force from the future,
Can we go anywhere we want at any time?
You can do anything you want.
is putting history at their fingertips.
Let's reach out and touch someone.
They're traveling through time,
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus. How's it going, dude?
and they're making a big impression.
Historical babes.
Now they're home
Everybody get together, remember who your buddy is.
to trash the 20th century.
We got a live one here.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon,
We're from history.
Billy the Kid, Joan of Arc, Sigmund Freud,
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven,
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln,
Party on, dudes!
Socrates, George Carlin,
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's
Excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
Let's ride!
The Three Amigos. They were the biggest stars of their day.
The Three Amigos are history.
But that was yesterday.
Look, boys, I know show business. Something always turns up. Telegram for the Three Amigos. Come with me where moonbeams paint the sky.
Who are you?
The Three Amigos! Arriba! Arriba!
I like this guy. They are funny guys. Just kill one of them.
Steve Martin. Chevy Chase.
Do you have anything besides Mexican food?
Martin Short. The Three Amigos.
Sorry.
You're so brave.
Whoa, Horsey!
Three amigos.
I'll come back one day.
Why?
All right. So it's another serious one. We have the
I don't know if it's serious, but you can't overlook Tango and Cash.
that's true. That was a good one.
That's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. Rival guys, and then they're just buds.
Yeah.
That's one of those that kind of gets overlooked a lot too. I think both of those guys are kind of at their prime, and they stuck them together, and it just kind of got snowed over by a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's a fun movie.
Yeah, and it kind of started a trend for those kind of flicks too, because you got Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man, and all these things started coming out that were kind of playing in the same ball field. But yeah, man, Tango Cash was a big movie. I mean, it did really well.
Well, there's a lot of blockbusters that kind of get lost in the nostalgia.
Yes.
In history. Like, that's not one that I really think about. And when I was doing something on Kurt Russell for a story I was writing, and I was kind of like writing out some of the movies that he was in, I was like, I forgot that he was in that. Like, I remember that movie, but I haven't seen it for frickin' ever.
Yeah.
But, it's like, oh yeah. And then, Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Don
and that's
Johnson.
that thing I think we got. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the Rambo stuff. You get so saturated with that stuff that it all starts kind of running together, So, again, that's the 80s for you, man. Just over excess, right? And everything.
If it works, just go with it, right?
Yeah. And it's hard for me I'm always going to go back to that Saturday Night Live crew because Trading Places is one of those I never get tired of.
Trading Places, 48 Hours.
48 Hours, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a team that you wouldn't think would work.
Right.
Nick Nolte is so serious, but I mean, they really.
Yeah.
That's another one that, like, you see the trailers for it, you're like, oh man, I remember that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Kind of moving, same Saturday Night Live sort of stuff. Saturday Night Live is good because I guess they have a lot of 1 and 2 character skits, so they have to come up with characters that resonate.
Yeah.
But like the David Spade and Chris Farley movies.
Oh yeah.
So like Tommy Boy was. I mean, that's one of those that you can just watch over and over again, and then, like.
That I always think when Tommy Boy, I always think about the end when he's up there making the speech. He's like, I grew up in this town. Jim, I remember when your daughter lost her virginity. Hell, John, you were there. So funny, man.
He's like, can't get the set. He's like, I could stick my head up a butcher's ass. Selling auto parts, but he like can't understand why he's talking about a butcher, but like his customers are just like.
Yeah, man, great combination, man.
We'll still do that, like, it's like it bonked my head on the cabinet door or something. Why, it's like, how you feeling? I'm like, well, it's like, it doesn't hurt here or here, but kind of like right around here where there's the big scratch on my face.
Right in here.
Right in
Not
here.
so much here.
Oh God. So years and years ago, my wife's cousin got married. And at the facility, the parking lot was not like the gravel, but it was that old asphalt that had the gravel kind of stuck on the top. So like the little ball bearing style gravel. It's like really. So she'd been in high heels all night and we'd been drinking. And so we had like 30, 40 yards to walk to the car and she was having trouble on her heels. So she goes, "Hey, will you give me a piggyback ride?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I hitch her up, and she's on my back. And so, of course, drunken me figured that this would be a funny time to reach back and give her a tickle. Well, when I did, she jumped up higher, and when she jumped up higher, it threw my center of gravity off and just drove my face right into this concrete. And like I look like the Terminator, like like right around the my eye socket here, and like just I had a scratch all down. Like, and that was the thing. She's like, "Well, how are you feeling?" I'm like, "Well, like here I'm pretty good, but like right around here, not so much."
Did you ever see? You ever see Kung Pao? The movie Kung Pao.
Maybe. Who's in it?
Nobody in particular. It's a just a terrible movie. But this guy bought the footage from 2 old martial arts films, put them together, and put himself in it.
Oh, sweet.
And he overdubbed
Actually,
all
I think I might have seen that. That sounds familiar.
The beginning of it sucks, and the ending of it sucks, but everything in the middle is gold. and
Awesome.
There's a scene in it where this martial arts expert is hurt real bad. I mean, he's been like stabbed. And there's a scene where they're like walking up, and he's like, "Oh, I need to help you." He said, "Where does it hurt?" He goes, "Oh, just around the big bloody spot." That same kind of mentality.
Then you get to Three Amigos, man.
Oh, yeah.
The
So good. Chevy Chase again, man, top of his game at this point. Those three together. I can't believe they haven't done other movies.
Dude, Steve Martin and Martin Short, they do comedy tours together.
Right.
I mean, they're super buds. But yeah, dude, from the top down, that entire movie,
Yeah.
like it's so quotable.
Yeah.
It's like nobody on planet Earth ever uses the word plethora unless it's a reference back to
Absolutely. Would you say I have a
Three
plethora
Amigos.
of presents? Or are you going to hear, "Gonna make it? Gonna make it? Gonna make it? Not gonna make it." Oh, man. Great, you shot the invisible swordsman.
He's like, "Oh, then I learned about movie tricks." He's like, "Nobody's that fast." And he's like, "I'm that fast." He's like, "No, you're not." He's like, the dude's never shot a real gun before, but he is that fast. But he has a huge honking
big gun.
pistol. He's like, shoots him and then like goes flying backwards and knocks himself out.
It's so great, man. I just everything about it. I just never get tired. When Chevy Chase is sitting and he's singing to the people and he's got the guitar and he's like, "Ah!" And they're all just like, "Whoa!" The whole
years and years.
The lip balm
years
scene. The lip balm scene when he's got the canteen of water and he's just pouring it out everywhere. Lip balm.
The My Little Buttercup song, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like all those people in the bar have no idea what's going on.
They're thinking they're like cold-blooded killers, has the sweetest smile. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh man.
We had just brought that up too. We were doing an episode of Hell Ming, and we were like, "How have we not done Three Amigos?" And we had pretty much
now,
had the same conversation we're having right now.
Even in the quote-alongs. So a couple of years ago, my wife bought me a bottle of tequila that's shaped like a skeleton. So it's this little, like the shoulders are the bottle, and then the neck is the lip, and then it's got a little skull that sticks in the top. I don't even know if it's still got booze in it because I don't drink tequila very often, and it's been sitting there for a couple of years, but it's up there. So my daughter's like, "So what's in that one?" She's like, "It's tequila." She's like, "What is tequila?" I'm like, "It's kind of like beer." She's like,
"It's kind of like beer."
It's kind of like beer.
Yeah, you can use all that stuff, man.
All the time.
And my wife used to say, "Good night, Ned," all the time, because the little turtle out in the wilderness. Yeah, that was one of our date movies back in the day.
Yeah, that never gets old.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So then, when we were discussing doing the movie, the buddy movie thing, I was looking for buddy movies to watch, and then I remembered that I have Cheech and Chong's next movie on VHS, and yeah. So Up in Smoke is great.
Yeah.
But Up in Smoke, I think Up in Smoke, it's classic, but that's everybody's go-to.
Right.
So I think next movie gets overlooked, but next movie has some of the best jokes.
I think next movie's better.
I agree. Because their relationship's already established in that they just are stoned. They just don't care. Like just but like, he revs his motorcycle for half an hour.
Get that exhaust running out the window because he's got the motorcycle in the house.
He just revs his motorcycle for half an hour and then finishes that and then turns up his guitar.
Yeah, man. And you had posted out there the whole Michael Winslow scene in that one.
Dude,
is classic.
Dude, I can't like. Chong had to have been just absolutely just stoned or have earplugs in not to be cracking up.
Yeah,
because that entire sequence, because it's one shot.
Yeah,
like it's just one still cam, and then Cheech is in the back making out with his girlfriend, and she keeps popping up every now and then, and like the dude's laughing and he's making the noise. It's like the can. He's like, he's like nursing baby. It was just. Yeah. I'm sitting there like I've seen this scene so many times I can't even see straight, and I'm sitting there like in tears. Yeah. I'm just laughing so hard.
Yeah, absolute classic, man. I love. I really like Nice Dreams. I love Still Smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Where they go to Amsterdam and everybody thinks they're Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton. Mr. Burt, Mr. Dolly.
Well, then, it's like the next movie switches it on its head a little bit whenever Red comes out.
Red, yeah.
So Red comes into town. Cheech is like, man, I don't want to hang out with my cousin. And then Red just turns out to be the most party guy in the world. Like Chong goes on this massive adventure all night. And then, like I forgot Edie McClure where she's like all the Midwestern mom and she's like clapping her hands. And,
right.
Yeah. Dude, so good. And again, that's one of those movies that like wouldn't get made like that again.
Oh, absolutely not. I think it's Chong. It's either Chong or Red because it stands up and says, "I'm going to show you a magic trick. I'm going to turn this.
Ain't that a peach?
Yeah, I'm going to turn this handkerchief into a fruit. Ain't that a peach?"
She's like, "I don't get it." The whole rest of the family is just cracking up. Everywhere they go, they mess up the entire lives of the people, and then just leave them with holding a bag full of weed. So when the cops do show up, they're like. And then that's Pee Wee Herman in one of his first roles.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Like, so he's the angry shows up at the comedy club.
No. Yeah. And I think that's when I saw him in Nice Dreams. He's in that one too. Mr. Lizard, you want a hamburger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're the guys from the hamburger train.
Hamburger. That's that thing, man, where you realize all these people are tied into each other, because they're all in that business together. But yeah, man, it's amazing because I guess maybe it was just the times, but even Cheech and Chong kind of straightened up their act there towards the end, right? I mean, they made the Corsican Brothers and some stuff like that. Was it where it wasn't the typical hippie kind of thing because it's the 80s now,
Yeah.
And
and I think Cheech actually, because I remember listening to Chong on Chong's been on Joe Rogan a couple of times, but this was like way back before podcasts. But Chong was like, yeah, Cheech always had this business sense, and he was always writing serious stuff, And he says, and ironically, nobody would take him seriously
Right.
because he was a comedian. But he had this whole backlog of stuff, and he was always going on auditions. He was trying, like Cheech Marin was trying to be a serious actor, just trying to find the way to break in. And Chong was like, I was always just more interested in writing jokes. Like, I was happy being Cheech and Chong, and, you know, so, like, they kind of broke up and went their separate ways for a while. But yeah, so when I was in the band Thunderpants, right, we would get hired to play private parties quite a bit. So we had this one private party, and it was like I think it was in like February. And see, Houston weather is very inconsistent at best. Like Halloween, you would plan your costume based on 3 scenarios. It's either going to be blazing hot or freezing cold, or somewhere in between. So you don't, you know, like if you're gonna be a ghost, you only, you know, like 1 sheet, 2 sheets, or 3 sheets, because it's like you never can tell. So you have to have those contingencies in place. But anyway, we played out this country club, and they had a pool, and they wanted to set up by the pool, and it was supposed to get down into the 40s, and I think it bottomed out into the high 20s. And we were out there by the pool. Well, I showed up to the thing, and I felt the temperature dropping. We were all dressed as 80s guys. So I got there. I was dressed, thank God, as Robert Smith from The Cure. So I got there and turned around and went home and grabbed some long johns and a couple extra pairs of socks and went back. And so I was just dressed head to toe in black with thermals on. My buddy was dressed as Cheech Marin, and he had to dye his shirt, and it was still wet.
Oh,
so
man.
He's in a wet tank top,
man,
like playing bass. We got some pictures, and God, it was so cold, man. Like playing the show, but we got paid like a tremendous amount, so we could not bail. Like we were in.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there playing my guitar, and I'm looking at my headstock on my guitar, and I've got icicles hanging off the strings off the headstock. Like, it was that cold.
Yeah,
like, it's starting to frost up the tip of the guitar.
That's crazy.
So yeah, every now and then I'll hear a song, and like my fingers will start turning blue. Just like, oh yeah, we used to play that in the band.
So I saw Tommy Chong in Nashville in mid-90s. Doing stand-up at a Zanies club is what it was. And talking about, you know, people always ask me, man, why we split up. And I have to say well, the problem is we got rich. He said, you can't make a rich Mexican do anything, man.
I like how he's like, in Up in Smoke, where he's like, "Oh man, it's the wedding." They called immigration on themselves. He's like, "You got nothing to worry about unless you don't have a green card." He's like, he's like Chinese or something. He gets deported too. He's just like,
oh man, yeah. Cheech and Chong, man. I mean, that's some of those that you almost have to tell people, in your lifetime, you kind of have to see one of them just to say you did,
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
When Chong was on that '70s show,
yeah,
he's just like the same character,
same guy,
from forever ago.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. There's I mean, these things are endless, but let me go back to a serious one, because you mentioned Gary Busey. So we have to mention, it's a buddy cop movie. It's a buddy movie. It's undercover, but Point Break.
Point Break.
With Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Johnny Utah.
Yeah. Classic.
That was a great one. That's not one they should have remade.
Yeah, and that's that curse we're gonna have, man. I mean, it's like, bring up another one. You can throw Top Gun in the mix too, But at the same time, you're like, well, we're getting the follow-up to that, and it makes me really nervous. You know?
Right.
Oh.
What you gonna do? You can't stop that tide. It's just gonna keep rolling. So,
yeah, they feel like they have to redo them and bring a new generation into, but just like in everything else you do, you lose that originality thing that made it work. So, but it's gonna happen. Some of our favorite movies are remakes.
That's true. That is true. You just have to wait because like I said, Fangoria does not like The Thing. It didn't like The Shining. Right. There's a lot of stuff that it just was like, oh, this sucks. And then like the movies that it did like for the same year, you've never heard of them.
Right.
So sometimes time just has to tell,
True.
But man, I think this probably gave us a good list of stuff we need to catch up on.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to go watch Three Amigos right now.
Spies Like Us for me, man.
Hell yeah. But cool. Well, yeah, what's your favorite buddy movie? Did we not mention one that we should have? I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, so
we just barely even skimmed the surface there, man.
Seriously. So, but yeah, let us know. Hit us up on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and play around, post the funny pictures and and check out Friday mornings.
Yeah.
I've got kind of a trend, a theme going on Friday mornings, but yeah, we'll catch you next week. Stay awesome.